quickly check with the money and FX markets from yesterday. Interbank rate closed little changed at the money market yesterday. We saw core money closing flat at 8.41%. Now, the secured open buyback rate for the banks and discount houses edged a little bit higher to around 7.7% on average. At the currencies arm of the market, the Naira weakened further against the US dollar, closing at $155.75 to the greenback. Kebale Dahosa is joining me now. We're going to be looking at the CBN's move to diversify some of Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve, dollar-denominated foreign exchange reserve, into the Chinese one. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we talked about what is the central bank's announcement yesterday that it has concluded plans to diversify about between 5 to 10% of Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves into the Chinese yuan. Now, it also said that the U.S. debt crisis are just among the reasons, some of the reasons why it is doing this, and it also says that it is seeking to take advantage of China's growing economic importance in the global economy, and of course, there's increasing trade flows between both countries, and the central bank says it is seeking to take advantage of this. Now, let's talk about the fallout of the U.S. debt crisis. Now, do you see the central bank, are we seeing positioning on the part of the central bank following the U.S. credit ratings downgrade?
Actually, it has very little to do with the immediate situation. We have to look back 5-10 years that the Chinese economy has been growing at more than 10%. Okay. At the same time, the U.S. economy was growing at 2%, 1%, then went into recession. The same thing happened in Europe. So over the last 10-15 years, the Chinese economy has overtaken all the European countries, one after the other, Germany, Italy, England, then overtaking Japan, and is now the second largest economy in the world. What that means is that it is the second biggest player in world economy, and therefore its currency is playing a much bigger role. Over the same period, China has built up trade surpluses with all countries in the world. So China consistently has holdings of dollars and pounds, sterling and other convertible currencies far in excess of what they themselves carry. So you find that over time, China has become a major currency by itself. So the result is that whether or not you had Chinese currency, you needed Chinese currency. So the Chinese currency had become a dominant currency anyway.
But it's not, we understand the fact that, okay, China has been experiencing a rapid growth in the last couple of years, but the Chinese yuan is still not a reserve currency. The US dollar remains the reserve currency. And it's quite ironic also that some central bank governors, Nigeria inclusive, are trying to diversify into the Chinese yuan, because the central bank governor did say that now that there's a global economic concerns, of course, we know that the US is battling with a huge budget deficit, huge debt, over 14 trillion US dollars. The Chinese government themselves hold over 3.2 trillion of their foreign reserves in the dollar denominated. So isn't that a little bit ironic? We are running to the Chinese yuan, but they themselves have the bulk of their own reserves held in the dollar.
Yes, that's why we are talking about the background rather than today's event.
So you're saying it's just the rapid growth that the central bank is trying to take advantage of, not the fact that there's been a fallout from the US?
No, it's not just the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria is one of the last countries to announce that. Okay. A couple of countries have been moving their currencies over time. Some are moved 10%, some are 5%, some are 15%. But steadily, countries are beginning to diversify. They started first by diversifying from dollar to European currencies.
The euro,
then to euro, when all the other European currencies. They are now diversifying into the Chinese currency. And it didn't happen yesterday. It's been going on steadily over time.
So you're saying that it's not, because right now the Eurozone is troubled. We know about the trouble in the Eurozone. With the investors or currencies or central bankers have moved from the dollar, they moved into the euro. Now the Eurozone is troubled. So are you saying that this is like a shift into a less troubled zone?
No, you will notice that the CBN said they were only moving 5 to 10%. It's going to be like that around the world. You are not going to find any country moving 90% of its foreign reserves into the Chinese yuan in many, many years to come. It's going to be a matter of diversification, of balancing. of saying, do I put all my money in dollars or in euros, or some in dollars, some in euros, some in the Chinese yuan. You are going to have that going on progressively. And the primary reason is only highlighted by this crisis. With or without this crisis, it was going to happen. You're going to have, it is predicted that by the year 2025, the Chinese economy will become the largest economy in the world. And there is no way you can have the largest economy in the world not have its currency in the foreign reserve system of the world. The reason why the pounds and the French francs and the German marks were reserve currencies along with the US dollar were that they were the largest economies in the world. The largest portion of world trade was done in those currencies. Now that is happening to China. So you don't be surprised 5 years' time the Indian rupee will come into the picture. As the Indian rupee, as the Indian economy grows so fast, the Brazilian economy grows so fast, these economies that represent large portions of the world economy will represent themselves.
So you're saying the central bank has done a good thing?
A very good thing. They really did not have an option over time. It was a question of when, not if. It was a question of were you going to do it 2 years ago